I feel like I'm being called back to Africa. It does feel like that, actually. It's kind of weird. Like it was really weird. I had like all these dreams, like kind of in the last year, where I had this real sense of like, or like it was like a wanting, or like this real need to like feel like I needed to put my feet on the ground there. And then I had this, I used to get like this clay, like this real clay taste in my mouth. Like, I don't know, it's just weird. So I had this kind of feeling, and then all this stuff started happening, and then I've kind of just like been reconnecting with Africa, like like Graham, and then like, yourself, and then meeting all Graham's teammates at Cappuccinos in Botswana.
Mama Africa.
Yes, I think I got to get back. So yes,
she's calling you home.
That's right. So anyway, welcome to another episode of Design on Purpose, where our vision is planet Earth as a garden and work of art for all life. And today I am joined by a very special guest, Theme Rain. It's Theme Rain, isn't it? It's not Rains. Rains with an S. Theme Rains. It's a cool name. And if you don't already, like and subscribe. Definitely helps with the podcast. And I've also set up recently a way, if you do feel the urge to support the podcast, there's a little buy me a coffee link down below. So if you feel like you've got some value of the podcast, then please do support it. It all helps to contribute to get this podcast moving. It's a lot of work to put this together. But anyway, welcome, Theme.
Thank you. It's great to be here with you.
Be here. That's right. So, and where is here exactly? Can you tell us where we are right now?
Yes,
so I feel very spoiled to be sitting here in this.
We just connected and found each other. We're here in Bali, in Ubud, just outside of Ubud, Siam, at the Four Seasons, where we just finished a week's training. For the classes. Yeah.
It's very cool. I was just upstairs soaking up the opulence. I was like, wow, it's so beautiful.
There's a beautiful sacred river that runs along the whole property. And so with, Balinese temples all the way along it. And it's incredible. The philosophy here is all about the seen and the unseen, and how the value of both come together in true wellness.
Oh, well, is that with this hotel, or this area?
It's a Balinese Hindu philosophy,
mm-hmm.
Which is common throughout Bali, but here at the Sacred River Spa, they really honor it and value it and bring it into everything that they're doing. So the physical, what's seen, is actually just as important as the spiritual or the unseen. And so it's been amazing working with the team here, because they're living with that awareness.
They're working in the 5D. It's 5D, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's been a common theme in my life the last 6 months or so. Actually, it's kind of funny that you say that. But Theme, yeah. So can you tell us about your business? Because it's very interesting work that you do, and very cool products. So can you give us a little intro to that? And just before, I'm just gonna push this a little bit closer to you. Yeah.
All right.
Want to make sure we get this good stuff.
Get the technology right. Yeah. So I'm the founder and the formulator behind Synthesis Organics, which is a business which came about as a synthesis of the tangible and intangible aspects of wellness that touched and transformed my life, and I saw had incredible benefit for others. And so the product line came out of that. And initially it was something I did for fellow therapists, because I was a therapist at that stage. And so
what kind of therapy was it that you're doing?
Before
synthesis?
So energy medicine, a form of energy medicine called Alchemy.
Can you tell us about that?
There's a lot to that as well. So we're going back to the seen and the unseen. But Alchemy obviously has it's well known, the traditions in ancient Egypt and through the spagyric tradition that's come through the West, but there's also a very strong alchemy tradition in the East, in Taoism as well, Chinese alchemy. But essentially, alchemy is about transmutation and translation. So it's working as the common understanding is you take the lead, which is the heavier, denser parts of our being and existence, and you put them through a process of transformation or growth, awareness, consciousness. And as those heavier, denser parts are purified, the ultimate realization is the gold of enlightenment. So the alchemy is a process of lightening the being to reclaim all parts of ourselves.
That's interesting. Are you talking about, like, when you say the heavy, is that like dense energies or like shadows within your
so
being?
it's like that the awareness that the source of us and life is light, light with capital L, and a lot of this is backed up these days with quantum physics.
Yes,
so that everything is energy, and energy sped up to the speed of light, or energy is matter sped up to the speed of light. So essentially we are talking about light, but the denser parts of the being is where the light can't reach that. And so when we bring the light or conscious awareness to those denser parts, they could be shadows, memories, traumas, things that have made us close off or contract and become the illusion of separation from the light. Yeah. So it's bringing that light, that conscious light of awareness into those parts so that they don't control us anymore.
What happens to those parts of your self that you shed light on? Do they stay? Is it about integrating them, or is it about
because there's always a learning and a lesson and in whatever experience that we've had, but bringing the light in is akin to you go into a dark room and you turn the lights on, the shadows just dissolve, they go away. It's that they're actually transmuted. So once the power of your conscious awareness shines upon something, it loses its power to control you from the dark because you're aware of it now. You may still feel the pain of it. You may still have a memory of it, but it's integrated into your being. It's not hidden from your consciousness, because the things that are hidden from us in the subconscious can sometimes affect our behavior or how we react to things, patterns. And
Yeah, that's interesting. Actually, I've just done all this shadow work with my teacher Joe Rushton and this lady teacher Ishtar. There's it's like a path of light. Did 12 months, like every Tuesday for like 3 hours we met, and we did all this like shadow work. And I think this is part of the reason why everything just started shifting in my life, because before I got on the journey, and we had Joe Rushton on the podcast, and she was like, "Oh yeah, I'm doing this path of light thing." I'm like, "Oh yeah, that sounds cool. I'd love to do it." And she's like, "Yeah, make sure that you're ready for it, because it's gonna be a lot of stuff's gonna change." And I'm like, "Okay, good." But
the warning.
Well, she warned me already. But yeah, it's kind of profound, and it's definitely like a lot of karma, like, stuff moving around, karma, decisions coming from karmic wheel and all that. But what I learned in that process, and it kind of resonates with what you're saying there, is around the shadow aspect, because without that shadow aspect, you don't have the light aspect of that, right? It's like you might have something that's unique to your personality, like confidence, but the shadow aspect of that on the other side is arrogance. It's like it's if you don't integrate the shadow of it, then you can't really be in the confidence in the light, right?
Right. Yeah. So the
same concept.
That shadow gives us something to respond to and evolve from. But you can shrink the presence of that shadow down to just being a simple reminder rather than something which dominates and controls and
Yeah.
affects your well-being.
Yeah. It's super interesting, and it's very empowering, because then when you know those aspects of your personality, you can definitely, like, you can dial it, you can definitely work on the dialing of the where it sits on that.
It's about empowerment. And
Yeah.
and then you begin to trust the process. Like when you first begin a process like what you've spoken of, or what I call the alchemy initially, when things first come up, you're like, oh my gosh, it's like quite overwhelming. Like how are we going to get through this? The dark night of the soul we're talking about, but you move through it, because it's all only energy. Everything is only energy. So whatever seems to be this big thing is only energy. And as you move the energy through, it moves through, and you may find your life circumstance changes, your body changes, like
everything changes.
Everything changes. And once you've been through that a few times, you begin to trust the process.
Yeah.
So things can still happen that are challenging and difficult and painful and all of that. But
sorry, someone speak up.
You begin to trust the process of being able to move through those things.
Yeah. I definitely am learning that it's not easy, because it's like you're operating, that we're so used to just operating in the physical world, and you don't, I think, until you really go through something like that, where you're kind of forced to trust. And it's like this, I'm really into the tarot, right? It's like I'm really into this it's not, I was going to say the user journey, that's my designer coming up, but the hero the hero's journey, with the Fool. I don't know, do you know much about tarot? Yeah. So it's like the Fool's journey, he goes through the archetypes, right? And he travels around, and then he meets all these different archetypes in the major arcana. But like that card of the Fool, he's having to really trust, because he's having to like walk off the cliff to start the journey of the process of actually uncovering those parts of the psyche. And and it's just, it is, you kind of, you have to go on that journey, and sometimes the universe will kick you off the cliff, which I've definitely experienced.
Yeah.
But then you're forced to trust. And then it gets easier, because you've got no choice but to trust. And then you realize actually everything's kind of, it's like you think you have so much say in what's going on around you. And maybe you do in a way, because like in your attitude, in the way that you perceive life. But sometimes it's happening through you, and you have this, I don't know what you believe about that, but it's like I'm coming to this conclusion recently that it's like it's all going to be okay, because you're not really that in control of things as you think you are.
Yes, I would totally agree with that. And everything you're saying about the Fool, and taking the step before the step is there, and then taking that step actually creates the step. But talking to what you're saying about not actually being some cultural, I mean, seriously, like we're sitting on this like planet spinning through space, and there's a million one factors that go into just allowing us to be here, and associated with the body thing. There's very little that we are actually in control of, except for where we place our attention. And there's a Native American Indian proverb about this dream that the boy has about black wolf and white wolf or something like that, and he says to his grandfather, what do they mean? They're always fighting. And he's like, which one's going to win? And he's like, well, the one that you feed. Right?
That's true.
So we do have choice or control over how we respond to life, but that's about it.
Yeah. And that speaks to the shadow too. It's like as well, right? The black wolf and the white wolf, you could feed that shadow aspect of that personality trait or aspect of self.
Yeah.
Or you could feed the light version of that. Yeah. So, and how did you find yourself in this world of alchemy? Because you grew up in Sydney, right? Like, I don't imagine there'd been many Egyptian alchemists cruising around Sydney. Hanging out Bondi Beach.
At school, I ended up doing 3-unit ancient history, and it was on Egypt. I was totally fascinated, but of course, you didn't learn anything at school about the real esoteric things going on.
No.
But I was actually born in South Africa, and the woman who had a lot to do with my upbringing was a sangoma, which is like a traditional herbalist or witch doctor. Even.
Oh yeah, so an African woman looked after you. Same here. I had a nanny like that. So special, isn't it?
So special. Mom and dad both worked, and so I spent a lot of time with her. And she introduced me to the seen and the unseen. And then, yes, I went to school in Sydney, and though there was not a lot of Egyptian alchemists walking around. But one thing led to another, and I was traveling a lot when school finished, and I ended up in Cuba, of all places, and it had just opened up to the West. And had some really powerful experiences there, but they were a culmination of all the life experiences that I'd had to that point, where I suddenly found myself on this balcony, and I realized I was studying law at the time. I was going to try and make a difference through human rights law or environmental law. But what came to me was like this sudden realization that the change that needed to happen in the world, because I was seeing similar things wherever I went, it didn't matter the culture or the language. There was like this similar consciousness or awareness or issues that I was seeing. And I realized that in that moment, this all happened in a matter of like a split second, that the change wasn't going to happen at the level of like working things out. There had to be a shift in consciousness.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I was like, well, how do I connect with that? And I felt this force, this presence. And I was like, oh, we need to connect with this force, which is greater than our current level of consciousness. And it's the shift in consciousness, which will then take care of all these other things. And I came back from that, and suddenly, and the friend who I was traveling with, who then went on to actually study theology at Oxford, sent me a box of books. So when I got home, there was this box of books there, and it was all the great spiritual traditions of the world, from, you know, the Bhagavad Gita to the Upanishads, Tibetan Book of Living and Dying.
Whoa, what a gift.
Catholic,
that's amazing.
So there's all the Catholic Christian texts as well. And I just was reading them all, and my mind opened up to spiritual life and the possibilities beyond what I'd known. But then I got this message, was called one day to go to Balmain markets on the other side of town, and that's where I connected with the Alchemy. There was like a little
in Balmain.
There was someone there who was connected to it, and what happened for me was that my heart had a spontaneous like explosion when I first just connected with it, and everything that had been happening at the mental level translated into the heart level. And so that's where I was like, okay, I've got to follow this. It was like so strong, but it was heart led.
That's wild. That's how old were you when that happened?
20.
Very young.
Yeah, but I traveled quite a lot at that time. Yeah, and lived in 2 different countries. And
wow. So then,
yes,
how?
As my mother kept telling me, your frontal brain wasn't yet evolved. Discovered that my heart knew, and there was no pros and cons or anything. I just
well, it's kind of like, it's this funny thing, and this is a big lesson that I've been learning too, because I'm very like, not like I'm very creative, but I'm like full Virgo. I think I've got some crazy amount of houses in Virgo. Like I'm like very like, I love organizing systems. Like, I love like but really just analyze the shit out of everything. And I've like really been learning like not to do that through this process, because your mind can run away with you, right? And it's like, and I think just having the awareness of that, because that is a shadow aspect of my creativity, is my over like active mind of like, creating things all the time, so I've got to keep it on the good stuff. But what I learned is that, it's so easy to just get in the doing, fixing, making, all that kind of, it's more like a masculine energy probably. But then what I've noticed is that actually creating more space to actually not fill the space or do something or try and fix something or that's actually when things actually start to unfold, and that's when actually magic happens, and things actually just actually so much easier.
And we're living as like a response and being moved through life rather than
Yeah. It's like breathing. It's like, are you actually breathing or are you being breathed? It's so weird.
And when we relax enough to allow ourselves to be breathed and moved, it becomes a completely different life experience.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. I'm just going to move this a little bit closer. No, you can sit back this bit. No, that's all right. Pull that a little bit to you so it's closer. Should go. Yeah, it's robust. It's good. Good design. Australian design road. Very good. Okay, so you've gone on this journey. You've been in Cuba. You've gone to Balmain. You're in Balmain. You've had this. You're now in line with your heart. So where does that take you then? Because this is something that really interests me. I'm really, really fascinated by purpose and purpose-led business and purpose-led organizations, because I think the way that I see business is that it's like a medium for you to fulfill your calling. A lot of people talk about it, like know a lot of people in like the spiritual community. They're like, oh, capitalism and business and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, no, but it's like an artist with a paintbrush or a sculptor or whatever it is. You as that business, you choose the medium that you want to craft your art and extend from your heart if you're doing it the right way. So what was your journey from there? Like being heart-centered, connecting with that, and then what was the path from there?
So I went in deep, really deep. I left.
Okay, let's get into this. Let's go there.
I left my double law degree at Sydney University with like one subject to go or something.
Oh my gosh, what'd your parents say?
They totally freaked out. I changed my name. I took the name that the alchemist called me, and I changed it by default, my passport, everything. So Theme Reigns is the name that he gave me, and I followed him for the next 16 years until he died.
Who's the teacher?
So he wanted to remain anonymous.
Okay.
He isn't like a guru, or didn't want to draw any attention to himself. His work was about connecting us to the divine itself and that communion, and not being, because people can become a source of fascination. And then
I mean, I've seen this in spiritual community. I think when your consciousness expands, the ego expands as well.
Yeah,
and it can, like I've seen in spiritual groups, this becomes it can be very toxic. There's the shadow aspect as well of the consciousness expanding. The ego also needs to expand. That's my take on it. I don't know if you see things differently.
Interesting. He used to say that you actually need to have a well-developed, like actually quite a strong, well-developed ego in order to fully engage in spiritual life, which is ultimately the transcendence of the ego. But you need to be aware, like you need.
That makes sense then, doesn't it? What I'm saying, yeah.
Transcend, yeah.
Yeah, interesting. So you worked with your teacher for some time?
For the next, 16 years.
Oh, wow.
And basically,
where? In Sydney? In Balmain?
No. We went all over the world. I mean, one time we went to Greenland, because Greenland, he worked with water, and because water carries memory. His work, like when the Dalai Lama had problems with his eyes, he sent him some, healing artifacts, and the oracle for the Dalai Lama took them and said, healing from the future, no more pills. So he wanted to check what it was before he gave it, to be used. So I think he was bringing through an awareness of perhaps a future time where we are living with more energetic awareness. We are living more as energy than as that. Because we learn E equals MC squared at school in physics, but we don't learn how to live as energy. We live as though we're solid, separate things.
Yeah.
We're actually conditioned that way, not to live as energy. Anyway, so the work was energetic and worked with water, because water can carry memory. And we go out to like one time in the middle of the Greenland, because that glacier holds 1/7 of the world's fresh water, to do energy work to stabilize things that were happening on the planet at that time. And been Europe, America, a lot of time in America, Australia, all over. But it was karma yoga work, so it wasn't running like, wasn't creating a business or putting money away in superannuation or anything.
Hey, that's important.
There wasn't like a material sort of game plan at all.
Yeah.
You know, went again to the distress of my parents. So when he did pass from this earth, and which was a really profound moment for me, because it's when I realized that what is true is never lost. So it's like, because of how he lived, I was able to be present to his death and the conscious death and feel him as he moved through that death process, and like be aware of what that was and how what continues. And so even though there was grief came initially, it was like this ecstasy, because I was actually, witnessing a conscious death. And
were you there when it happened?
Yeah. I basically didn't leave his side for 16 years after my first meeting. So it was a long, I don't know, apprenticeship or what the word is, but then suddenly I was in the world. I'd been a renunciate and for just doing energy work and karma yoga service. We were working with a lot of people around the world. But suddenly I was, oh my gosh, what do I do? I don't have a degree or anything. I don't have any money. I've got nothing. But I had created Synthesis for fellow therapists at that time. And that was like happening on the side. And I went to this yoga festival and met this man who was also like practicing. He'd sold his big health business, and then his mission was just to connect people that were shifting consciousness in the world through having a chat. And he's like, how would you like to present your products to the Peninsula Hot Springs, which is, Australia's largest spa, and that they do 38,000 treatments a year. It's a lot of products. I was like, sure. So next moment, there's some phone calls. I'm flying to Melbourne. The owner, the general manager, and the spa director have all cleared their calendars to have a treatment with the Synthesis products.
So
cool. They all had a treatment and left with some products. And of course, because it's the largest spa, all these brands were trying to get in there. And some were even offering free product for a year just for the positioning. But they called me back to do a proper pitch. So my friend bought me a suit, and another friend helped me with the power.
You weren't like a Rajneeshi, were you? Like
no,
getting around in burgundy gowns and things like that.
No. It was definitely just very hippie Byron country. Hey, when I first went there to do the presentation, and I wasn't wearing like Hugo Boss suits and being like, okay,
corporate. Now we're doing board meetings.
But I did it. And I put on the suit and I went because it was like 13. Had to justify it to the new CFO and all of it. And they ended up choosing Synthesis as their product brand over all the other well-known brands because they recognized the value alignment. And they, the products, they were really happy with the results and all of that. But there was this really strong value alignment. And it was such kudos to them that they were guided as this big business by that too.
Yeah.
So we've been with them for 6 years. But that was the moment that Synthesis actually became a proper business.
Well, that says a lot about that organization, doesn't it? Because that's kind of, you don't see that too often, people making decisions based on values alignment, or, like they actually could see the value in the values.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Wow.
And the products still had to work and everything had to deliver, it all had to come together. But, there's definitely other brands where that all came together as well. And but they so it was the values that pushed them over the line.
Very cool. And the product, how did you get into making these products? Because like, were you making these products with your teacher?
I started to make them while he was still alive.
Like, but is that something that he taught you to do, or you just,
that was something that the energy awareness, yes, I learned that all from him. How to work with energy and the energy medicine, etc.
Yeah.
But I've also always had this incredible love of nature and organics and plants, and I think that comes from my grandmother, my mother and my grandmother line. My grandmother worked with flowers. And so I started to make the products and then put the energy medicine with the organic products so that fellow therapists, because obviously in the sort of worldwide network, was working with a lot of acupuncturists and massage therapists and all different forms of therapists. And I was noticing they were using products that were not, some of them not even organic, and a lot of them not ethically sourced, or basically not high vibe products. But they were doing these amazing treatments, but using products that were not giving to the treatment. If anything, they were actually detracting from it. So I started putting this together and then offering it to fellow therapists around the world to use in their treatments. So merging that, my love of nature and organic and plants, which came, I guess, from my mother line, ancestral, and then with the energy medicine principles that I'd learned through The Alchemist.
It's very cool.
They came together.
Because it's skincare, right? It's skincare product.
Skincare, body care, aromatherapy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so when you put the energy in the products, like why does that what's different there? Like what do you can you feel it?
You can feel it. A lot of people can feel it, and but it's great because my husband, life partner, we're not like officially married yet, but we are definitely calling ourselves husband and wife, because
who needs to get the government involved in your marital affairs?
We got engaged. We haven't had time since to possibly think about an actual marriage ceremony. It will happen. But he studied biogeometry, which is an incredible, we can talk more about, but through that you can actually measure energy, and through biogeometry you can measure the synthesis products, and they hold the same life force quality as you can find around sacred power spots or in pure nature. So we're talking about life force and life force enhancement. So you can feel the difference and you can measure the difference in a synthesis product because it holds more of this beneficial, harmonizing life force, which is...
Is that, when you say life force, is that like the ether, or is that like prana? What is that life force?
Other names...
Are they
like
the same thing?
Or prana or life force, but it's basically like living energy. So it's like when you put the products on, you're not just getting the physical benefit, you're getting the unseen benefit of like pure energy, life force. It's like what makes things grow. It's what makes
it's like vampire repellent. Something. So keeps bad vibes away.
It's true though, right? Because it's like they can't get in because they're like...
it's on your skin. It's on your fascia. It's on your fascia.
Yeah.
Because that's so interesting. Is it and what was the first product that you started with? Was it a water product, or did you?
It was a lotion, and it was based on this. There's a very famous photo called Earthrise. So when we first went out into space, and they turned it around and they took a photo of the Earth from space. You can Google it, Earthrise, and it's like known as like possibly the most significant environmental photograph ever taken.
Yeah,
because it was the moment in our collective consciousness that we suddenly saw that, oh, we're all on this like beautiful, vulnerable little blue planet. There, in truth, there's no country borders and all of that. This is one home, like, and so we saw this interconnection and this wholeness and the vulnerability of it all as well, and the beauty. So it impacted on consciousness of. So first product is called Earth Rising.
Oh, beautiful.
And so it's inspired by that awareness or that lifting in consciousness.
And where were you making these products when you started? Were you like...
Well, my first little lab, I got, I rented a little space and called it Tiny Geometries, which is funny that now I'm working with Chris in biogeometries.
Oh.
This is before I met him. And then as it grew with Peninsula Hot Springs, I got a recycled shipping container.
Okay.
Because it was completely sealed, and so you couldn't get pests in there.
Yeah.
Control the temperature. So I got it all certified. All my products are certified organic right from the beginning.
Yeah.
And did all the sort of legitimate things so that I could give peace of mind to the people working with it. And so I worked from there. It was for quite a few years. Yeah, making products.
Was that in Sydney? Was that in Balmain, or is this now in Byron Bay? No, this is Byron Bay.
Byron. So
that is now in Byron.
I was in Byron from when I was about 21.
Okay, cool. Wow. And then and so what? What?
It's just quite a tale.
Yeah, I mean it's I love hearing founding stories of businesses. You know, it's like I love the story of Yvon Chouinard. I don't know if you know Yvon Chouinard from Patagonia.
Oh,
you know the brand Patagonia. Do you know his story? So Yvon Chouinard, he loved rock climbing. He loves nature, you know, and then, but at the time, people would put these pitons into the rock face and leave them there. So they would chip these pitons into the rock.
Okay.
And he was like, why are we doing that? This is ridiculous. Like, we're climbing these rocks. We love this place.
Yeah.
We should leave it how we found it. So then he started learning skills as a blacksmith so he could make these pitons that you could take with you. And he never wanted to be a businessman. But the products just did so well. Like, it actually started as a foundry, like a blacksmith. I think that's called a foundry, isn't it? Or something like that.
Amazing.
Yeah. And then obviously now the business is huge, and he just sold like all the shares to Planet Earth, or like transferred all the shares over to the Earth. Did you see that?
No, his 1% for Planet Earth, and I mean, his work's incredible.
Yeah, so I just find that really fascinating, because I think like, and there you go, you know, there's the point, just to come back to what we were speaking about earlier, is that he didn't try, he wasn't forcing, he wasn't in the do. He was actually just trying to solve a problem that he believed in. It was in alignment with him. And then he wasn't trying to build this big empire, but just things just started happening because it was like was supposed to happen. So
beautiful.
You know, it's you know, when you're in the flow like that, it just kind of, the river just takes you along, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the biogeometry stuff, I would love to know more about that. Is that more Chris's bag?
Yeah, it'd be good to do a podcast with Chris. I've learned through him, but I haven't studied it myself.
Okay. Because can you give us like just a little kind of in a nutshell what it is?
Sure. I think I can give an example as well, which I find really moving. But biogeometry is a qualitative science, which has got 45 years of research behind it now. So founded by Dr. Ibrahim Karim from Egypt. He's got like 3 PhDs and anyway, very, very smart man. But also biogeometry is essentially an ancient temple science. It's come back through now.
Did Chris learn this in Balmain also?
No, Chris learned in New York, and he went and stayed with the Karims in Egypt and learned with them there. And then he's also studied in Hong Kong. No, first time that Chris came to Australia was like 2018. And he didn't leave again after that. But so biogeometry, and so one of the great stories that I love about it has many, 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 many different applications, but this one is called the Miracle of Hamburg, and again, you can look it up online, but they put a radio tower into a church steeple in Switzerland, and because of the steeple shape is an emitter of energy, it emitted the effects of this electromagnetic frequency, and people in the town started to get sick. Birds went away, the cows were all miscarrying. It was bad.
Wow.
And so the minister from Switzerland, because they knew Dr. Karim because he did one of his PhDs in Switzerland, called him in and said, can you deal with this, with the biogeometry? And so he harmonized it. So the cell tower remained in the steeple, but it was harmonized through this science with biogeometry, which is all based on measurement and harmonic shapes to correct the discoordinate energy that's being pumped out as electromagnetic frequency, etc. But what was so interesting about this study is that everything just didn't go back to the way it was.
Oh, it got better.
It got better, right? Because that was an energy source. It's just that the energy was like having a negative effect. But once it was harmonized, there was actually more life force. There was more energy, but it was harmonized energy. So all the markers improved.
That's wild. Yeah, I'm going to look that up. That's so interesting.
So they work with hospitals and military and government, all of that. But we're partnering with them for the wellness industry. So we're starting to bring this in to wellness properties.
Does the product, like, have you guys fused those modalities now with the product, or is it mostly the alchemy?
Not into not into the synthesis products. Yeah, but we are taking the biosignatures, which is part of biogeometry, and we're fusing them.
Is that the patterns, the shapes?
Yeah. So again, he's given it all for free, so you can find them online, or you can buy a book, and it's just full.
I saw they're like these little wiggly lines.
Yeah, they're these shapes, and they come out of the natural harmony. But as the energy moves through the shape, it becomes harmonized. So we've integrated those into our spa treatments. So you're actually getting the biosignature benefit. You're not just getting a massage or a facial. So we've integrated it into the treatments, but not the products.
Is that the training that you're doing here? Is showing those the patterns?
Yeah, part of the training. We did everything. We activated the therapist's healing hands. We taught the facials. I had another trainer here with me who's like got 45 years experience as she's an incredible celebrity body worker facialist from Argentina. But there's a whole incredible techniques for the face and body. So we're integrating everything from like shiatsu and other meridian work with massage techniques and lymphatic drainage in buccal, which is like an internal oral.
Oh, I've seen people doing that. Like they put the gloves on and they go in and press around the mouth, right?
Yeah. So we got a treatment.
Is that fascial release? What is that?
Yeah, so you actually release all of the tension that's held in the jaw area as well. And there's a whole other mobilization tissue shifting for the face. So it's like, you know, in Hollywood, celebrities do it as an alternative to
cosmetic surgery.
Cosmetic surgery, because it has a lifting, sculpting effect. But it also has a somatic benefit, which is that all of the memories and the traumas are held in the face. So after a treatment like this, you're actually releasing all of that from
you probably hold a lot of tension in your jaw. Like I know I do. I can see it sometimes when I'm like the way that I speak sometimes. Wow.
It feels amazing when it gets released.
Yeah. It's kind of weird, hey, though, having someone's hands in your mouth like that.
I know it is. The first time I was like, but then it's also fine. It's also okay. Like once you've done it, you're like, oh, it's like actually no, it's not bad.
Yeah. Because I've been really getting into the fascia stuff. Like I went on a whole journey with that, just with my posture, and learned so much about fascia.
Yeah.
Because it's not really something that you hear about your muscles and your bones and your tissues and like, but you don't really, I didn't really know about that. But it has such a huge impact on everything in your body, how your chemicals are in your body because of the way that your organs are being held and like so many things. And it's actually like a liquid, right? It's like a Newtonian liquid. So it just makes so much sense about the products that you're making and the energetics of it and how that actually like can integrate with the
we have to work through the fascia and release the adhesions and where it's got stuck or stressed or anything, so that energy literally can flow through the body again.
Oh, right. So you guys work with the fascia.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do. You get like it's kind of like a sticky web, right? How would you describe fascia?
Yeah, I don't know. It's like the connective
tissue, right?
Yeah. And when it gets stuck, it's like a sticky.
Yeah, because it should move, right? It should glide, like
it should be able to move like a wave through it.
Yeah.
But when it gets stuck, and then that, as you say, has an effect on how our organs can move and how our
I rode boats for 10 years, surf boats, and my left shoulder like was completely like rolled in.
Right.
And for years I was like working on my shoulder, trying to get my posture sorted out.
Yeah.
Then I started doing all this functional patterns, learning online, and they do a lot of work with fascia, and when you learn like myofascial release.
Yeah.
And then I started looking. Have you looked into the anatomy train stuff? There's like this, I don't know where the guy's based. I think it's in the States somewhere. But you can actually get all the fascial, there's 7 different lines of fascia, like the front line, the lateral lines, and there's like you can see that, you know, there's the cross here that goes across your midsection. So you can see all the different and where it's connected, like from all the way to the bottom of your foot.
Yeah.
All the way up, you know, like up your head, like, or anyway, you basically just get this sense that you can see how everything's kind of connected. But it wasn't until I started working on my right hip that this started to release, because it's like having a crinkled shirt here. Do you know? It was like, whoa, that's so crazy. Because there it is again. Oh, fix.
Yeah. We go with where it seems obvious, but
but it's actually got nothing to do with it. But it's fascinating. It's really fascinating, all of that. And then it's all connected to your nervous system, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you're storing like traumas and things in there. And that's maybe why the tissue gets stuck in a way, I don't know, or repetitive patterns.
Yeah. Things start to contract again, coming back down to what we were saying at the beginning about the lead or the denser part. When stuff gets stuck, it's not moving anymore. Yeah.
And something else I just learned recently as well about the fascia is hydration. And a lot of people, like it might not be a dehydration problem, but it can be like a mineralization problem, and it has a lot to do with the fascia. And I was watching this guy, Gary from, do you know the Human Garage? You seen that? I got to send that to you. It's so interesting. And he's saying because the amount of barium that's being sprayed in the atmosphere, it leaches our body of silica. And silica is what you need to transfer minerals from the water to your tissues. So he's like, it doesn't matter. You can have mineralized water or whatever, but if you're not getting silica in your system, your body's not going to do the conversion. So it's not going to get to the tissue. It's not going to hydrate the tissues, or it's not going to, I don't know what the science behind it is. So he's saying to take diatomaceous earth and Irish sea moss.
Okay.
I don't know if you're going to, huh?
Excellent.
Is it sea moss?
Yeah.
I'm just starting to get into this like a whole other world of stuff. I'm like, wow, it just goes so deep.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot, isn't there?
Yeah. Anyway, I could talk about the fascia. Like that's like a whole, like I could probably do like a week's worth of episodes on that stuff. But
one of our therapists, her ex-partner was in the university who first brought the awareness of fascia to the world.
Oh yeah.
And traveled the world teaching about it. So if you ever want to have a chat with him.
Yeah, I'd love to.
He's like the man that brought it to the awareness.
He's not from
Germany.
Oh, from Germany? Yeah, because I know it comes from that like around like Europe somewhere, this knowledge.
And I think they were Rajneeshis.
They were Rajneeshis?
But
I'll wear my best burgundy outfit for the podcast.
I'm sure at least one of them was. But I think they did a lot of work on body work, and there was a lot of progress done through that whole what would you call it, modality or
I think there's so many things that have come out this fascia knowledge. You know, some people have, like Naudi from Functional Patterns has taken it one direction, and I love him. I think he's so incredible, but he's very strict on his modality, and there's not really much room for the others. And I know he's probably got very good reason for that, but there's all these other offshoots, like the anatomy trains and the Human Garage stuff. And I'm David Weck. I don't know if you've come across him, movement guy, but anyway, there's so many great people that I've learnt a lot from in the last year and a bit, 2 years probably. But what about the future for synthesis? What's the big dream?
Well, what seems to be coming together, we'll see, right? Because we've finally just built our factory in the forest. So it's been a dream for a long time to have everything built on land, which is all organic and harmonized. And so we did the biogeometry with it. It's all certified organic. There's a spring with the water is like amazing. It's in this forest up in the hinterlands of Byron, and we've built it all with passive house design. So the building itself breathes, which means you don't get mold issues. It's like really healthy building. And
How do they do that?
With the passive house. So they create a breathable membrane. So you use these panels, which are basically compressed wood fiber, which are an upcycle waste from the wood industry. So you're creating a solution. There's no glue because it's compression. So there's no formaldehyde, etc. But it's got incredible rating for like thermal and fire and everything you need. And then you create a chamber where there's air and a permeable membrane. And so the effect before you do the outer cladding. And so the effect of that is that water is pushed out of the building and it has somewhere to go and evaporate. So essentially breathes.
It's like a skin. Your house has got skin.
That's not it. This is the house is an old family. It needs a lot of help that we're living in. But we've built our production facilities, which we call an HQ, which is headquarters, not headquarters.
Oh, that's cool. I love that one. I might have to steal that.
Like just finished. We're just finishing the final landscaping and the doorway. So it's been a dream for a long time, and it's finally come together. The next phase, we hope to bring together this collaboration, which is forming with biogeometry and synthesis and high-tech wellness along the lines of like sunlight and infrared saunas, hyperbaric. So like the high-tech longevity wellness, but we're balancing it all with the biogeometry. So you're harmonizing any of the negative impact of the electromagnetics that are associated with them and synthesis to create like wellness concept spaces. And there's an amazing design firm in Milan called Harmonic Shapes, which has licensed the biogeometry and created this incredible materials that have got the biogeometry shapes through it.
Wow, that's so cool.
So we're going to create these spaces that you walk into, and just by walking into them, you're like totally harmonized. I think you can also do the high-tech wellness and the synthesis treatments and, you know, kind of, so that's coming together at the moment as, you know, the next project, because the dream would be able to have these accessible around the world in urban centers as well, so people can just go on a day, like they could go once a week or on a daily basis like you would to a gym or somewhere, and you can go in and have this like immersive wellness experience to reset everything.
That's so cool. There's like, I've just been in Canggu like the last little while, and there's a lot of people into this. Like Canggu has changed a lot since I was there last.
Right.
Like it used to be like bars and clubs and like this kind of vibe, and there's still a little bit of that there.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of like biohacking and health retreat, like not retreats, but gym and sauna, you know, recovery centers and kinds of things that I'm seeing everywhere, which I never saw there before. So there's definitely like a shift.
Yeah.
I think people are definitely changing in that way. Like it's more fun to go to Bali and do healthy activities than come here and like
get super well and get like the natural
rather than super wasted.
Like,
yeah.
You feel amazing and connected and
yeah. So that's really cool. And how far off are we from that?
Well, we have there's a place in Sydney that's put their hand up to be the first in Australia. There's interest from somewhere in Dubai. We'll see where it leads. Like again, it's just a fledgling little seed at the moment. We'll see what happens, but
very cool. It's very
and then
cool.
we want to link that with because water is very important to us in biogeometry and alchemy, other things that we do have, and the aspect of water, we want to link it with a foundation that creates a solution for having purified, harmonized, like water available in places where it isn't yet as well.
What about Sydney water?
Starting with that.
We should go straight for Sydney water. Imagine what would start happening in Sydney if everyone starts drinking harmonized water. Wow.
Yeah. It's carrying the natural life. Yeah. but also taking it into, developing countries or places where there isn't even access to clean drinking water, and having a foundation that's supportive of creating access to that, but make not just clean drinking water, but actually clean, like, life force.
Yeah, I mean, that's because water needs to be structured, doesn't it? Like if you're drinking water that's not living water, it can be dead water. It needs to go through some kind of
restructuring,
geometric pattern to restructure the water. Is that right?
Yeah, if you're not getting it straight from a mountain stream or something where the rocks are doing that naturally and the movement, then you need to restructure the water to be able to hold that life force again, that energy. So it's.
Do you guys have devices that do that?
We work with devices that do that.
Yeah.
And then biogeometry have ways of doing that with huge bodies of water and smaller bodies of water. So we've got like this 200,000 liter water tank on the property with the spring water from deep below the earth merged with the rainwater. So it's like, it took us like a year. It was our total focus was just like stabilizing the water source. It was like everything else.
That's like, number one priority. You guys have got your priorities right.
That first shower with the pure water, I was like, oh my gosh, it was all worth it. It's like, and you drink the water, and like the tradies, everyone's coming and they're like, what's in this water? Like, can I fill up all my bottles here? And our friends are coming over and filling it because we've got various different restructuring devices and solar powered pumps to move the water and a grounder rod, and water's very important.
Yeah, well, that's really neat. I mean, what a dream. To have your own water source, I mean, that's just like, incredible.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah. And
we've done a lot in the 5 years since we met, and he moved into my tent in the hinterlands because that's all I had was a tent and a 15-year-old car.
Wow. So you've done a lot of this like growth in the last 5 years?
Yeah, because I was doing it working for Peninsula Hot Springs, but it was like creating and for fellow therapists, but still traveling around the world, and kind of was just very lifestyle. And then when I met my partner Christopher, and then we fell pregnant, and so suddenly we had a little bubba on the way, and he was born mid-COVID, and Chris left his business that he was working with a CEO and traveling the world with a startup, but he gave that up so that he could be at home with us for the baby being born and all that. And we thought we got income from Peninsula Hot Springs and our other spas we can cruise through. But of course, COVID, everyone got shut down for almost 2 years, so there's no income. And so we got this baby. We were like, okay, it's time to take synthesis online. And so it was only 2.5 years ago that we took synthesis online for the first time, and that began the whole crazy wild ride of e-commerce.
Yes, because when I caught up with you, that's right. Like, you guys were just the way that you were talking, like you knew all this stuff about Shopify and like all the system stuff, and you're like systems and mapping. I'm like, oh guys.
Because it's like, we've got like, okay, what are we going to do? We have to advertise. So we did this course from like For Good Profits. Like, it's like a for-purpose online marketing course. And we're like, okay, now we have to learn how to do Facebook, Meta. And the first thing we went out with was all like our language about the heart and shifting the energy. And, it was the best-selling product in all the spas, and nobody bought it.
So how'd you learn from that and pivot your marketing strategy?
So we then went out with a product that I created when I was pregnant and had just had my our little boy, called Notox. And so it was like a combination of all the ingredients that I'd come across in my years of research that are like natural alternatives to have the same effect on the skin as like Botox or injectables, but it's like completely organic and pregnancy safe. And so
great name.
We took that out. It's like, okay, Notox is your alternative. And from the moment it just sold, like, and that's
right fit, right product market fit, right?
Yeah. And messaging. And we're also talking to what people were looking for was, natural alternatives that didn't have all the chemicals and side effects. So we created a solution. And then from there, we've drawn them into the deeper holistic journey, which is like the bigger message of synthesis.
Yeah. Yeah. What part of your, like when you're doing the business, like how much of it now is like marketing, online work, and product creation or development? Like, how do you split your time? Do you find you're getting more dragged into the business side of things, or?
Yeah, definitely dragging more into the business side. And that's why I've loved coming here and being hands-on with the therapists again, because that's like where my heart is the actual hands-on, heart-to-heart teaching. And then I'll dip back into product development too. So I do consulting work for other brands as well and help them. So the new factory in the forest will be helping other organic natural brands get started as well in the marketplace. So
it's an incubator.
Yeah, exactly. But for natural and organic. So formulated a range now for a local not-for-profit Indigenous community group, so they can actually have something which is an ongoing sustainable income.
Yeah, so cool.
All Bunjalung sourced plants and herbs, and so that creative part, the making, is definitely I love it, but being dragged away from it from the business side of late. Sometimes
now you're like the Shopify. Shopify master. Yeah.
It's not my happy place.
Yeah,
it's like if you have something that you really believe in, and it's like, okay, well, this is what it's going to take. We have to learn this. We have to do this until we can delegate it or pass it on. And so
it's a pretty cool time though to have a business, really, in a way. Like, I know we went through all the COVID stuff and whatever, but the fact that we have these tools to be able to launch products, put them out, get feedback, get data, do our own advertising, do our own storytelling.
Exactly. And be able to pivot so you get that immediate feedback. Like, we knew straight away people weren't going to resonate with that product or that messaging. And so we could just pivot and offer a different product that really met what people were looking for. But yeah, as you say, in the past, you would have had to go through like so much more and so much more investment. Like,
you imagine all
your credit card the way we did it with us before you learn. No, this is not, doesn't have the market fit.
Yeah, that's it. And how do you find like this really deep kind of process and alchemy and the biogeometry, like all this kind of, I don't know, I don't want to call it like woo stuff, because I really believe in this stuff, but I mean,
it does.
Do you find that that's like a deterrent to some people, or do you think it's maybe it's they're attracted to it because of that, but they don't know, or do you?
Yeah, it's definitely like when I first was doing synthesis and when I did the with Peninsula Hot Springs, etc., I really focused on the organic side of it. And although the energetic side was there and brought awareness of it, I didn't push it because it's the unseen. It's the unseen. And that's not always comfortable if you haven't already explored some of that yourself in your upbringing or your conditioning, or have come across it.
Or if you've never been to Balmain.
Small places, right? Or Byron Bay. Yeah. But what's happened of late is that, so there's this institute called the Global Wellness Institute and the Global Wellness Summit. And
I saw something like that on your website.
Yeah, so I got invited to a couple of the Global Wellness Summits, which is kind of like the Global Wellness Institute and the summit. They were the group of people who came together, I don't know how long ago it was now, maybe 15 years, and essentially created what is now the, like, I don't know how many billion-dollar wellness industry. But they got together and they're like, should we call it well-being or wellness, etc.? And they created this community, or created the industry of wellness. And so you go to the summit and it's got like from wellness real estate to, the Surgeon General for the United States to the Dalai Lama was at one, or another one was Deepak Chopra, or like they just bring together the luminaries talking about wellness from a spiritual or an allopathic, and it's all, they have the institute, so everything's evidence-based. But energy medicine, I think it was a year ago or 2 years ago, it came out as a top 5 wellness trends in the world. And I think the heading was that woo becomes serious.
Yeah, it's all coming out now, isn't it?
Hospitals, and because of the evidence base that's
Joe
accumulated
Dispenza.
around it, it's now becoming mainstream and fusing. So it's a lot easier for us to talk about it and bring it out into what we're doing, because
It's the time for it now.
Acceptance of
Yeah.
it.
I just thought of something too when you were saying that wellness, because wellness is a well of water. So there's like, I don't know, there's something in that too. We're mostly water, right?
Mostly water.
Yeah. Cool. Well, yeah, I mean, I really see that expanding. I've noticed it. Like I said, I'm going around where I'm at now at Canggu. I'm noticing the shift in people's attitudes to health and well-being, and there's a lot of people kind of, I mean, you see the other side too. You see the shadow too of that. You see all the injectables and all the there's a lot of duck faces around Canggu as well. Actually, it's really.
You've got like the party wellness scene, and then you've got the
you got the other, you got
true, like spiritual wellness, or I don't know.
I mean, sometimes you see them in the same places.
Exactly.
Yeah, but
it's the human condition, right? It has many different parts to it.
It's the time, though. I really do think it's the time for it.
But talking of water and talking about like the injectables, or the trend where people start to look very similar because there's a similar kind of procedures going or whatever. What we always like to bring people back to is there's this work by Dr. Emoto.
Dr. Masaru Emoto.
Right?
Yeah.
And so it was such a breakthrough study because it showed us visually the impact of the unseen on the physical. So suddenly when there's like life positive influences, you create these beautiful crystals from the water. And when there's life negative influences, the crystals don't form. But the thing about those crystals, which are all undeniably beautiful and full of harmony and balance when you see them, is that every single one of them is unique. And so it's the same with all of us. And we try and share that with, as a message in talking about beauty, is that every human being's beauty is unique. And it's that beauty that shines through when we are in harmony and balance and actually able to hold the light through our form. We've soaked up enough of the life positive.
So true. Everyone's a special edition, one of a kind.
Exactly.
Limited edition.
So it's like we don't all need to look the same. And there's no like single standard of beauty. It shines through. And it's like the wonder of it. It's like flowers. It's like there's no flower that's exactly the same. They might be a similar color or shape, but it's like, so we should celebrate that.
Yeah, celebrate our differences more. That will probably get us out of a lot of trouble in general.
Exactly.
Yeah. Where can people find your products?
So we are well and truly online now.
Shopify.
We have the e-commerce. synthesisorganics.com. And join our Instagram. We do every month we have a different theme, but we explore aspects of wellness, and we do webinars. We talk with naturopaths or energy practitioners, or just helping bring the overall awareness and education around wellness and our mission, which is radiant conscious beauty. So that's fun if you join the Instagram channel. And then
very cool.
You can experience the treatments and wellness properties really around the world now, not sort of global, but here in Bali and Siam from October when they launch the new spa, Capella in Sydney.
That's 4 seasons, right?
Yeah.
4 seasons.
Ubud.
Is it called? What's it called? Siam.
Yeah. Capella Hotel in Sydney, soon to be Taipei, Taiwan, and then the Peninsula Hot Springs. And
well, you've really branched out from this tent, haven't you? Over this last 5 years.
We were accepting an award last year for the best sustainable skincare in Australasia at the Spa and Wellness Awards, and the Peninsula Hot Springs was there and receiving a lot of awards because they're always winning luxury spring spa of the year award all over. They're incredible. And so I got up when I accepted the award and I was like, I can tell you now, the day that you placed your first purchase order was the day we officially became a business. And we laugh about it now because, it was that really, it was a defining moment. And yeah.
Yeah, well,
That was like, okay, so this is what I'm doing now. I'm running a skincare business. Okay. This is how we're gonna have the impact. It's through this.
yeah, that's it. That's the medium. But it's a great medium, and yeah, very much look forward to seeing what you guys do. I look forward to joining at the Heart Quarters in Byron sometime soon.
Come visit.
Yeah, I definitely will. And is there anything upcoming, like events or anything like that that people should know about?
Not that I can think of.
No, yeah, okay, no
But
problems.
we do activations as part of retreats, and we'll start running our own retreats because that's what I was doing before. I was running like retreats.
Yeah.
And so we'll start that again. So keep a lookout for that. Or if you are a retreat leader, you can take one of our activations and add it to your program. Or got yin skin alchemy and scent journey alchemy, and anyway,
cool. That's cool. There's lots to come. So yeah, do follow Synthesis on Instagram and you're not on TikTok, are you? You haven't branched to TikTok.
On TikTok. I think we started putting reels
Okay,
on TikTok.
okay,
Yeah,
cool.
there is a TikTok channel. Yeah, so
Okay. And yes, if you haven't already, like I mentioned at the beginning, do like and subscribe. And you can find me on Instagram at Rix Lee and on TikTok at Captain Rix. And yeah, Design on Purpose on all the channels, all the podcasting channels, and YouTube and all that good stuff. But yeah, thank you very much, Theme. It's been so great.
thank you. It's been fun
And
chatting.
thanks for having me at the Four Seasons Hotel. I've been very spoiled today.
Thank you.
Yeah, nice to finally meet you. Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.